Rev up your engines. Okay, today we have the last of the Toyota Celicas, or I should say the penultimate. This is a 2001 Celica. They sold over 4.1 million of these things, but they stopped making them. What went right? What went wrong? Would you want to get one of these things? Well, watch this video and you can make a wise decision on what to do. Now, first of all, they bought this for $2 grand a year ago. Still runs really good. Not a bad deal. And here's one of the reasons why. This is a 1ZZ 1.8 liter engine. It's the same engine that's in our 07 Matrix. 1ZZ FE, you can see, there it is, 1.8 liter. Sticker on the hood's long gone on this, but here's how you can tell. If it says VVTi, that's the 1.8 liter 1ZZ FE engine. In the beginning, when these first came out, everybody wanted the 2ZZ FE engine. More horsepower. But there was a big problem with those engines blowing up. They put out their horsepower at like 6,300 RPM, real high, and the people were taking hard corners. Turns out the oil pump sump was built wrong. The oil would go to one side, they would suck air, the engines would blow up from lack of lubrication. They wanted to make them go faster, but they screwed up. This 2001 got like 230,000 miles on it, and the engine still running pretty good because it's the 1ZZ engine. If you're looking at these, unless the engine's been rebuilt or even modernized, you don't want the 2ZZ engine because they have problems. Now, you can build them up, you can do all kinds of things, put bigger oil pans. If that happened, they can be fun engines to drive around. But for transportation, for driving, nothing beats the 1.8 1ZZ. I mean, our Matrix still gets 37 miles a gallon. It's 17 years old. You can't beat these engines. They can run forever. So you got to be leery about their fancy racing engine. That's pretty much what put these out of production. Hey, 4.1 million of them they sold, but after this came out, they stopped making them. And unfortunately, other things led to the demise of the Celica. This last model that they made, these are the last designs, they were made cheaper. Toyota found out that the previous generation, which is probably the best Celicas ever made, they cost too much money to make. These things are like 3 to 4 grand less on the original sticker price because they're a little lighter, they have less insulation, they tend to rattle a little bit more. With the 1ZZ engine, they can run a long time, but you add all these things together and boom, that was the end of the Celica. Interestingly enough, I just read that Toyota, maybe 2025 or 26, is planning on bringing the Celica in, the MR2 back, and they say it's going to be a 2-liter turbo, all-wheel drive, internal combustion engine. No hybrid, no electric. That's what they say. We'll see what happens. But they claim it's not going to be like the rebadged Supra that's really a BMW, or the Subaru sports car that they call a Toyota. They claim they're going to actually build it from scratch with a 4-cylinder engine and all-wheel drive. Now, they did make a few Celica all-wheel drives, and some of them were really souped up to put up 200 horsepower. Those are a rare bird. I've only ever seen 2 of them in my life, and one of them was in a junkyard because it was in a big wreck and it was all smashed up. And they were pulling the engine and transmission out to sell to somebody. As you can see, this vehicle is still in pretty good shape. Mind you, it was economics that built these. Those are hubcaps, but the hubcaps are still holding up pretty well. Yes, it is a hatchback. So, just like my Celica, you got a reasonable amount of space. You can put the seats down. Then you got even more space for carrying stuff. They come in handy. Hatchbacks are very convenient. Let's face the facts, everybody does need an SUV. You could fit an awful lot of stuff in one of these too, right? Yeah, you can't get 8 people in it, there's no arguing that, but for a small sporty car, it's got a reasonable amount of space for lugging stuff around. Now, considering they paid $2 grand for the car, it's in pretty good shape. Now, these always wear out. I mean, you can get seat covers for them in my Matrix. I mean, look at these seat covers. They look great. You can put those on, they look nice. Curious, it's a Chinese company called Ling Vital. Excellent seat covers. Easy to put on. Get in and look at the rest of it. Let's just say, they don't make cars like they used to. Well, listen to the door. Still relatively solid, a little bit tinny. Look at that dash. No brakes, perfectly clean. Now, it's really hot out today, so we'll start her up. It's a Toyota. I'm assuming the AC still works. And Ah, yes. Nice cool air is coming out. Got a decent setup here. Speedometer in the middle, tack to the left. Electric windows. They still work. Sunroof is still there. They've upgraded the sound system as they had in our Matrix. Put in a nice Android. They work fine. The back seats, yeah, they're not made for large people, but they're still in good shape. People haven't used it much. An actual parking brake. Ultra dependable 4-speed automatic, same as our Matrix. As you can see, it's got 237,509 miles on it, so let's get the old computer out. And we'll do diagnostics. Auto detect. Oh, tell us such a good scan. It can do a tiny topology scan, so here we go. While it's doing it, we'll look around. Everything is still in decent shape, pretty good shape, I gotta say. Here we go. Okay, this baby is 23 years old, 237,000 miles, has no trouble codes, so let's start her up. And we'll look at log data. It's in closed loop like it's supposed to be. We'll turn the AC off for a second because that kind of makes data a little bit on the squirrely side with the AC at idle. See, once we turned the AC off, it went to 1.93, 1.85 grams a second. It's normal. Watch what happens when we turn the AC on. It screws with it, so you can never get data from the mass airflow sensor with the AC on. You have to turn it off, and then as you can see, it starts going back to normal where it's supposed to be. There it goes, going back down to normal. Just a tip, if you work on your own cars, don't do the mass airflow sensor data with the AC on, it'll screw it up. We'll go back to look at other data. Look at the fuel trim, okay? Fuel trim is 99.16, okay? That's not bad for all that mileage, baby. Oxygen sensor tests, they're all complete and fine. Transmission data, these transmissions are pretty bulletproof. So here we go for a road test. Of course, there's no backup camera on this baby. So we look back, 23 years old, 230-something thousand miles, and it still idles like a dream. The AC works, the turn signals, the power windows, the power steering, the cruise control, it still works. These things are just amazingly built. Now realize, of course, they were made in Japan. Now, these do handle decently. They're not race cars by any stretch of the imagination. Now, for some people, the ride's a little bit rough, but that's because it's a small wheelbase car. The biggest complaint everybody has about my Toyota Matrix, oh, it rides rough. And I admit it, rides rough. My wife said it rode rough. I got the best shocks I could put on it. It still rides rough because of its design. Short wheelbase, it handles like a dream, but it rides rough. The usual Toyota soft turn signals, they're not like an American's old car where they tick, tick, tick for the old people to hear them. You can still see them though, and they still work. And the tranny still shifts like a dream. These 4 speeds are pretty much bulletproof. Well, there goes the wilderness. More homes for people in Clarksville. Anyway, look, nobody's coming. So, here we go down Tobacco Road. Fun to drive in the twisties. And of course, hey, let's face the facts. This is not a race car. It's really not even a race car with a bigger engine in it, but especially with these, man, we'll come to a stop and we'll step on the gas and see what happens. It's slowly taking off. It's building up momentum. Smooth shifting. It's got to shift high for acceleration. Now we're going 50 miles an hour. And hey, I mean, it's a fun car to drive. You're not going to be beating people in drag races. But then again, it's winning the best race of it all. Long life, 23 years and 237,000 miles, and it still runs like a clock. No particular wheel bearing noise or anything. Shifts like a dream. Temperature runs normal, right in the middle. Low enough to the ground that you really feel stable. I mean, it's still a great little car to drive around. I only paid $2 grand for this thing. And like I say, when you get to the twisties, it's a lot of fun to drive around. Hey, it's just a fun little car that can last a really long time. As long as it's got this 1ZZ engine in it. I realize I'm hot and sweaty and I'm old and it's 100 degrees outside, so I got the AC on. The owners tell me when they want to go faster and take off, they turn the AC off, then it's got a little bit more oomph to it. But on the other hand, the AC is still blowing cold as can be. It's a typical Toyota. So, what do I think? Well, the man bought it for his son for his college car. Now, people whine, oh, it doesn't have enough horsepower. Okay, when I went to college, I had an Opal. It had 54 horsepower. So, a little bit of a difference. I wish I would have had something nice like this instead. But, hey, it got me where I was going. I got my money out of it, but I'd rather have 140 than 54 horsepower. Air conditioning, power steering, power brakes. I had to push on those brakes as hard as I could. They're all rusted out, too. They don't make them like they used to. If you can find one of these, just make sure it's the 1ZZ FE, unless it's got the 2ZZ that's completely been rebuilt and better parts put in it. Because these 1ZZ engines, 230 still run like a top, everything working fine. What a deal for $2 grand. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.